Howdy y'all, Christi here with Little Salty Homesteader. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am here today with a weekly update and some little visitors that are trying to make a nest in my dead plants. So it is really hot, so I have my high garden fashion on again. It has been an insane week, so unfortunately I just have to get out here when I can get out here. 2 of my 3 children started back to school this week. They are both in sports. They're both in scouts, and the oldest of the 2 is also in band in middle school, so it is chaotic over here. So let's go out into the treacherous sunshine and see what's going on. All right, we are kicking things off over here in the pepper patch this week, as we usually do. I haven't removed any plants out of this area, but some seeds have germinated and then some other seeds have been replanted. So let's talk about that. So this back bed here, it has my super hots, it has Carolina Reaper, has habanero, it has these spicy little guys here that I don't know what they are, and then some cayennes at the other end. It also has quite a few basil plants, as you can see. It's got oregano at each end. Has 1 or 2 calendula plants still hanging on despite the heat. And then most recently some squash seeds were planted in here. So what we have growing back here is green zebra at this end right there, and then there's another green zebra down there in the middle of the oregano and basil mess there. And then in the middle, kind of laying down and a little sad because it needs some water, is partial eclipse zucchini. So this is my reminder to come water these guys. So last week when I walked through here, that guy had not germinated yet, but there it is. So if I can keep the soil moist and, you know, keep it relatively happy, hopefully we'll get some squash off of there. Partial eclipse is a scalloped type squash. It's variegated, it looks really cool. So I'm excited to see that one come to fruition. Green zebra, I had relative success earlier in the season with a different plant, so I'm hopeful to get some more because I got some squash recipes or some zucchini recipes that I want to try out. There are a few peppers that need to be harvested. You can see here we have some Carolina Reapers that are getting ripe. That one's pretty much ripe. I think I may have had a hornworm out here, but I think it's gone now because you can see something nibbled there and there. I never saw it, so no idea. Down here I will probably be cutting down this Arapaho cayenne pretty soon. There's 2 plants here. They're not really producing at the moment. There's 1 pepper, there might be 2 peppers in here between the 2 plants, and I have other plants that produce a lot more, so I will probably cut these down just to make some room for the fall garden plants that are kind of rocking and rolling over in the seed starting section. So these guys are still going to stay though, the Buena Mulatas. This is like one of the most prolific pepper plants that I have grown. I grow them every year, and every year they look like this. Okay, so this is one plant. This is one plant, and it probably has, I don't know, 17 jillion peppers on it. Okay, not 17 jillion, but you could see it is a productive little plant, and I just keep harvesting, and it just keeps producing. So this one is a mainstay in my garden every year. I'm always going to grow it. One, it has purple peppers. But they have a relatively good flavor. It's not overly insanely spicy. It is cayenne level spicy, so if that's too hot for you, then just be aware of that. But yeah, the flavor is really good. Not super duper insanely spicy, so I can handle it just fine. Obviously there's enough that I'm dehydrating tons and, you know, putting back crushed red pepper and dried cayenne and such. So you can see here kind of what it looks like as it ripens. That's one of the stages. It goes through like a very deep orange and peach and kind of makes its way to red from this purple. So one of my favorite peppers in the garden every year. I'll show you the other. There's the other green zebra zucchini there. Looking pretty good. All right, moving on to this middle bed here. Most of the plants in this row are going to be jalapenos. There are some serranos at the other end that I'm actually going to be cutting down. My husband just isn't a big fan of the flavor, so I'm gonna get rid of them, make some room for brassicas and fall garden plants. This end has some rainbow jalapenos, so I have lemon spice, orange spice, and pumpkin spice all planted right here. The reason why I wanted to just take a minute is to show you guys, this is the pumpkin spice. So you can see how many are ripe right there. And that is a stink bug on the leaf there. Real life gardening. 1, 2, at any rate, 3, 4 ripe pumpkin spice jalapenos ready to be harvested. This plant usually does pretty well for me, so I'll probably continue to grow it. The flavor isn't any different than other jalapenos. It just ripens to a different color, as you can see. I replanted the spark pumpkin seeds literally like 30 minutes ago. I moistened the soil really well, got those put in. So hopefully the roly-polies leave these alone whenever they germinate. I'll be really sad if they don't. I will keep an eye out for the sprouts and, you know, try to protect them if I can. Some other stuff that is happening, not much. I did transplant a Persian carpet zinnia in here. It did not survive the transplant. It's right here. It's done. Bye-bye. But the mandarin pumpkins germinated fine. They are starting to put on their true leaves and get a little growth on them. So hopefully they continue to grow. I'm not really sure what their growth habit is, so they might take over this portion of the yard, or they might just be like a big kind of bush type, like the zucchini bushes back there. So we will see. So my plan for this bed, since most of the back is pretty empty, I'll probably remove some of this basil because I have enough basil throughout the entirety of the garden that I don't need to keep so many plants. Brassicas are gonna kind of go back here, and then wherever there's room in between the pumpkins, I'll kind of try to stagger them. And then I will plant radishes and beets kind of in between them. And then once it's time to transplant onions out, if I still have brassicas in here that I haven't harvested out yet, then I will plant in between as well. It's going to be a very full bed. That's how I like it. Whenever we get to the other part of the garden, you'll see the kind of chaos that I like to have in my raised beds. These are just kind of in a transition point right now. All right, in this front bed in the pepper patch, there's not actually any peppers. There are some eggplants though, and we have blue goose cowpeas. I'm harvesting cowpeas out of this bed every day. We have beautiful zinnia here. This is just for color and fun. The dill seeds that I still need to come harvest and save. Eventually, I'll get around to it. Of course, more basil. We have some marigolds as companion plants, helps attract pollinators and such. Another calendula that's still hanging on. I also replanted cucumber seeds. I think the first time I planted them, I might have planted them too deep. So I planted these a little bit shallower. So hopefully they'll be able to break through and, you know, we'll have some cucumbers. So at this end, I planted Chicago pickling. And then at the other end, I planted Haussinator. Both of them are vining varieties. So this bed will be a massive bed of chaos once those begin to grow and stuff. As far as the fall garden plants that will be squeezed into here, we shall see. I will be starting some leafy greens tomorrow. So this might become the home for them because I can kind of tuck them in spaces and kind of stagger them. That will be collard greens, kale, and spinach. I think I remembered all of that. So this might become their bed. We'll see what happens. We'll see if the cowpeas continue to stay healthy and whatnot. I am going to be removing these 2 eggplants that are in here. So I have a shooting stars and a Listata Digandia. I think that's how you say that. They have not been productive at all this season. I've harvested 1 eggplant, so that was edible between the 2 plants. So I'm just gonna get rid of them. You can see the Thanos is starting to really put on quite a few. We have 4 that I can currently see, and then some more like little tiny babies that were just flowers yesterday or the day before. So I'm gonna keep these 2 and see what else we can get off of them. So in the heat of the day, you can see how the peppers look to be a bit stressed out. They are being watered regularly, so they're not like super dehydrated or anything. They're just a little bit dramatic. Once they start to get in the shade, then they will perk back up and they won't be nearly as sad and wilty looking. That's just them telling me, hey, it's hot out. All right, these 2 beds are what I was talking about earlier whenever I was talking about beds of chaos that are really full and have a lot of things going on with them. I haven't planted any new plants in here. I don't really have room for a whole lot of new plants, as you can see, but I did remove some to make room for the fall garden plants. So what has come out of this bed, last week the poblanos were already gone. This week I removed 2 of the bell peppers, and I left this one because it has a few babies on it, and it also has the swallowtail still in its calyx or whatever you want to call that. And I didn't want to disturb it or, you know, prevent it from being able to emerge. So I'm going to leave this plant here until we determine if that's viable or, you know, all of these peppers come off. One of the 2, we'll see. So other things that we have going on in here, obviously basil galore. There's quite a few basil plants in here. Probably could take out the ones that are in the front for sure. This one is one of my favorites. And this is Persian basil. This one's one of my favorites. It smells really good. It tastes really good. It's really versatile. So if you're wanting to add like a more colorful basil to your garden, this one might be a good candidate. Other stuff that's happening, these 2 ochre plants. These 2 are white velvet. And most of my other plants have like a single stalk. Everything comes off of that 1 stem. So you can see here, everything is coming off of that 1 single stem. Even this dwarf variety, it has the 1 stem that everything kind of branches off of. But with these white velvet okra, let me get back here, they shoot off secondary stems that also produce okra pods. So these are more tree-like than the other ones, and you can get a lot more food from the same number of plants. And also this one is, you know, my favorite variety of okra to grow. So if you're looking for a high producer that might also cast a good bit of shade on the rest of your garden, maybe white velvet is a good variety for you, since it does put off all those additional branches and stuff. One more thing while I'm back here, we finally harvested this melon yesterday. That was a hamey melon, and it looked like a cantaloupe on the inside, but it had a yellow skin on the outside, and it was crisp like an apple. So it had the texture of an apple, I would say, and then a cantaloupe flavor. It was not for me, but I don't like melons anyway, so my daughter liked it, my son liked it, my husband did not. So I'm actually going to be growing cantaloupe on here next year, whenever I plant for the spring and summer again. He asked for just regular cantaloupe with that regular traditional cantaloupe texture, so stay tuned for that, I guess. Noodle beans, these are the Thai green noodle beans. I'm harvesting them daily again. I harvested these this morning, and this one will be ready tomorrow. On the other side, I have the Chinese red noodle beans. So you can see here, these get a bit longer before they're ready to harvest. I use these in stir fries. I saw a gardening channel where he harvests them once they reach the full mature size and they dry out, and he uses them as like dried beans. So I guess that's a second viable option if you grow noodle beans. I have not tried it, so I can't tell you, you know, if it's delicious or not. Back around on this side, the cowpeas that are in this bed are the pink eye purple hull. Again, I'm harvesting every day out of here. The pods turn red whenever they're ready to harvest. These aren't quite ready yet. These have another day or two. They'll be completely red whenever they're ready. And then you can pick them at that point. So this one will probably be ready tomorrow. And this one as well. And then we have another Hamey melon here. So I hope my kids are hungry whenever that one is ready to be harvested, because Mama's not gonna be eating that one. All right, over on this side, it's very similar to the other bed. Very lush and very full and kind of chaotic as well. The melon that's growing on this side is the Kajari melon, and it is not ripe yet. You can see here where it is still just chugging along. So hopefully within a week or so, my kids get to try that one. Maybe they'll like it a little better than the other one. Not really sure. The cowpeas that are in this bed are a variety called Phenomenal. Excuse me. And I have begun removing peppers out of this bed. So there was a shishito pepper. I went ahead and I pulled it because it was just not as productive as I needed it to be in order for it to be taking up space in my garden. And then I pulled 2 of these candy cane chocolate cherry peppers. Once the rest of these peppers ripen, then I will cut the remaining plants down. There's just there's a few on the plants, and I didn't want to waste food. So these will come out soon. And then I also have pumpkins in this bed. There's no pumpkins in that one. This one has black bear pumpkins, and these are a semi-bush variety, so they're not going to get as crazy as like a vining variety of pumpkin. And of course we have okra here and basil galore. I'll probably remove the basil off of the front row to make room for fall planting, brassicas, root vegetables, leafy greens, and such. All right, I'm going to try to work in the shade for a bit to keep my phone from overheating. In the sunflower patch, they are starting to reach a pretty good height. These shorter ones really aren't going to get much taller than this. These are dwarf varieties. You can see where they're starting to form their flower heads here. This one is also starting to form a flower head. It's probably going to open soon. And then we have some flower heads forming on these guys as well. So we should start to see sunflowers here within the next couple of weeks, I think. So that's really exciting. Once they're done, cut them down and I'm in the soil for garlic planting, which will go here, the grow bags in front of the greenhouse, and then the grow bag that is under that arch over there. There was a dove right there and it just scared the bejesus out of me whenever it took off. Sorry, y'all. Okay, over here in the flower bed, there are some changes. Last week I had talked about the stuff that got transplanted in, which was celosia and Tulsi basil. We kind of have those all the way down. But I also direct sowed some things to become a bit of cover crops. So what I have sown in here that has definitely germinated is a few varieties of bush beans. And I can't remember what they were. It wasn't my typical dragon tongue blue lake bush beans. It was some other ones that I didn't have a ton of seeds for. So those are kind of scattered all throughout the garden, all the way down. The reason why they're in here is because they're nitrogen fixing. They're going to pull nitrogen out of the air, store it in their roots. Then whenever I cut the plant at the soil level, as the roots break down, it's going to deposit the nitrogen in the soil. And then whenever I plant stuff in here next year, those plants will have that nitrogen available to them. If I can keep the dog out of here, I will also harvest the green beans off of the plants and get those blanched and frozen for later use, probably Thanksgiving. So that's kind of the idea there. I also threw out some crimson clover seeds, and those seeds are pretty old, so I don't know if they're going to germinate or not. I wasn't trying to do it, you know, with a ton of intention. I was just thinking it might be nice to kind of cover this if I could, to help prevent erosion. Like, you know, in the fall and winter we get heavier rain, and I didn't want the rain to wash the soil out of here. So I thought maybe if I had some stuff growing over the winter, that might slow that down. We'll see. I don't think any of it is germinated yet. Not 100% sure that it will, but I do have beans all the way down, which we will try to take a look at as we walk through. Here we go. Also have some cosmos blooming. I think this might be seashells variety here. We have Rudbeckia still blooming, Gaillardia still blooming. This is Strawberry Fields Gomphrena, Echinacea, if I didn't say that. Another calendula still hanging on. If it cools down, this thing will go gangbusters again. It's kind of fizzling off because it has been quite warm, but I'm hopeful that it'll stick around. We do also have a couple of milkweeds growing in here. These are not the tropical one. These are the ones that are good for monarchs. So hopefully I can host some of those as well. They're not blooming though, so I don't know if that's going to attract them or not without it blooming. So you can see more beans there. That's a coleus, another milkweed, more beans, a little cosmo flower there, Rudbeckia, Gaillardia, marigolds, Tulsi basil. Over here we have more celosia. So we will see. We'll see how the beans do out here through the September and October months. Hello, bird. That is one I don't want to get stung by. That is a very, very spicy bug right there. So I'm going to try not to make it angry. Okay. All right, so we have ginger over here. The ginger is doing so awesome. I am so excited about this. It's not going to be ready to harvest for several more months, but I have like a little ginger forest over here, and then I have one more ginger forest. So I'm so excited about this. I really can't even put it into words. We use a lot of ginger. My husband is half Indian, so we make a lot of curry, and then we also make a lot of stir fries. So a lot of ginger gets used around here. So very excited about that. And here's my other ginger forest. It had some new shoots pop up, so that's really exciting. Yeah, just really happy with the overall ginger production this year. Another look at the little bird. Hello, little bird. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. All right, clearly I scared it away from its home. I did not mean to do that. Hopefully she comes back. I did put a cup of water up here for her. Looks like she did come and drink it because it was almost spilling over the edge. So hopefully she comes back. I try to be a haven for most creatures, except rats, not those guys. Anyway, on to the pepper green stalk here. Even though it may not look that great to you guys from your end, I can see where it is beginning to look a lot better. If you look on here, you can see a ton of new leaf growth. And then let me show you one of the like super ugly plants. So leaf cutter bees really came and did a number on the plants, which you can see here. These guys look terrible, but look at the new leaf growth. They're looking so good, and I just fertilized on Monday or Tuesday with liquid fertilizer. Just dumped it in the top and let it trickle down. So should get some more growth happening here. Here's some more new growth. So we'll see. Keeping an eye on these guys. And then this plant, this was a volunteer, so of course it's going to be stronger and like healthier than any other plants in my entire garden. I don't know how I'm gonna harvest it once these guys ripen. I'm gonna have to, I don't know. I don't even know, because it's not in a convenient spot for a step stool either, because it's right on the edge here. So I have no idea. It is a Tabasco pepper though. That's what these guys are. So really fun. These are actually really good fresh eating whenever they're ripe. They have kind of a fruity flavor, good heat level, but obviously the most famous use for them is Tabasco sauce. So yeah, it's a pretty productive little plant so far, and I have no idea how I'm gonna harvest it. So we have also transplanted basil and celosia into here. We have Tulsi basil and then red Reuben basil. As this grows a little bit larger, it'll have more red leaves. This one is kind of bouncing back. I thought it wasn't gonna pull through, but it looks a lot better. And then we have 3 different celosia varieties in here. These were just added for color. They are very summer tolerant, so they should do fine while we're still pretty dang hot out. Oh yeah, one more thing. Sorry. All right, so one more thing in this green stalk. I cut the eggplants down. They did not do well in here. I don't know if it's because they were at the bottom, so they got like the least amount of nutrients from the fertilizer, or the space was too small, or what. So just for funsies, I direct sowed some Swiss chard seeds in here, and I direct sowed pink flamingo in these 2, and then the other one was red rhubarb Swiss chard, not red rhubarb like the rhubarb you make strawberry pie with, but like red, it's Swiss chard, it just has red stems. So I thought that during winter growing it would be nice to have those colors out here. As these peppers fizzle out and die off, I may incorporate some other larger leafy greens into here, especially if space becomes an issue out there. So just to keep something growing in here kind of year round, but we'll see. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants this garden season. We'll see what happens, and we'll see where I have space, and you know, where things kind of shake out. Strawberries, they are putting off quite a few runners, so I have been depositing them in pockets wherever I can, and hoping that those nodules take root. So we have a good 5, 6 that I have deposited so far. As we get more runners come off, I'll deposit them around. My goal is to try to fill every pocket so that next season we'll have strawberries everywhere. So if that one was a little bit longer, this is the nodule that you want to put at the soil level. If it was a little bit longer, I would try to get it to fit over here. This is another one. It doesn't really, yeah. I don't really have any that are long enough to try to get to any other pockets right now, but I am working on it. All right, lime tree. This was watered this morning, so what you're seeing here is a bit of a dramatic, it's hot outside, drama llama thing happening. I also fertilized this on whenever I fertilized everything else. So this looks a lot better than it did last week. I also think I'm gonna add a bit more soil to the top here after I do my seed starting tomorrow, just to kind of help insulate the roots a little bit more and see if that will help keep these plants happier for a little bit longer. And over here in the herb green stalk, there's really not anything different from last week. Nothing else has died off to my knowledge. I have been more intentional with the watering, So things are actually a little bit happier. It looks like this hyssop is starting to bloom, so that's pretty cool. That's new. And then tarragon is looking a little heat stressed and icky, but if I get out here and prune it, then it'll look a lot better. I did prune off all of the dead mint so that the healthy mint can come through and hopefully, you know, regain the space and be happy again. But for the most part, pretty much the same as it was last week, other than some pruning and some extra watering. All right, over here in my seedling station, this is some brassicas that I started last week. That was the video that was posted on Monday, I believe. And we do have some germination, not 100%, obviously. Some was 100%, like the stonehead cabbage, purple magic broccoli, that's 100%. This one, these seeds are older, so I wasn't expecting 100% on these. These seeds were older, but we got pretty good germination there. The rest of the seeds were brand new, so this is going to be a good lesson to me on what I will need to double sow tomorrow when I start some stuff, because I am succession sowing most of these varieties, not all of them, but most of them. So I'll need to sow, you know, the cells a little bit more heavily than I sowed them this first go around. But overall, not disappointed. I promise I have kept water in here. I'm trying to keep the soil from being too soggy. So at this point it's still moist. And I put some water in here just a little while ago. So probably good until in the morning whenever I water the rest of the garden again, and then I'll get some more water in here. All right, but that is a look at the overheated and slightly stressed out garden this August, what is tomorrow, 15th, August the 15th, 2025. Some things are doing really well. The okra, it's really starting to put on a lot more pods right now since it's been much warmer. And then some things are kind of angry about the temperatures. See the hot pepper exhibit A. But overall, the garden is doing pretty well and pretty happy with it. All right, but that's all I have for this week's weekly update. I'm gonna go inside and cool off before I go pick up the kiddos from school and shuttle them to all their extracurriculars this evening. So if you liked today's video and you want to continue to see how the garden grows and changes, please like, subscribe, comment, do all those different YouTube-y things. Otherwise, until next time, go find a way to get those garden manicures. Bye.